Okay, we know what you're thinking. These guys are already in literal hell, right? They've already been sentenced. Can we really call ourselves a higher authority than the afterlife itself? Well, when you think about it, is anyone sentencing them for the things they do in hell? I know, what would you do without us? I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and it's time to see how the absolutely wild cast of Hazbin Hotel would be sentenced if hell had some kind of demonic judiciary system. Today, we're sentencing Hazbin Hotel characters for their crimes. Kicking off the list of criminals, we have one of the main characters in the series, the scandalous acting sensation Angel Dust. Acting as simultaneous comic relief and an emotional foil to Charlie, Angel has quite the rap sheet despite his usually bubbly persona. Given his long friendship with Cherry Bomb, we have a good idea of what Angel's been chalking up on that old criminal record of his.
Not big on politics.
Destruction of property and assault with a deadly weapon are among his bread and butter, though he's usually either an accomplice to these alongside Cherry, or helping her out of a jam. As for Angel's own rap sheet, there's illegal substance use. By his own admission, Angel uses drugs to get absolutely wasted night by night, in an effort to numb the pain caused by his boss's horrible abuse. But given just how rough the crowds are in hell though, there are much worse things to worry about than a guy who likes crack and occasionally shooting things. Angel isn't genuinely out to hurt anyone, and on top of that, he's already shown sincere capacity for rehabilitation in Charlie's hotel. We're sure she and her friends would have no issue testifying on his behalf, and honestly, we just feel awful for this poor guy. And while he may not need punishment, he definitely needs help. So Angel's sentence is 1 year of mandatory addictions counseling, and a restraining order against Valentino. And Fat Nuggets is going to be officially recognized as an emotional support animal. But let's move on to our first real bad guy. Let's talk about Valentino, who we really can't wait to sentence to what he deserves. His crimes would make a lot of Hell's residents shudder. Abuse of all types, from SA to financial abuse and domestic abuse. Really throw just about any adjective before the word abuse and it will probably fit this guy. And if you thought that was the full extent of his evil, think again. He's also guilty of murder, torture, and mutilation.
Which of these makes me look sexier?
None of which sure helped by his entitlement and short temper. On the tippy top of his crime sundae, we have his ownership of Angel's soul, which leads to the very unique charge of slavery. On top of being an abhorrent creature in every conceivable way, Valentino has shown zero redeeming qualities. Now, if this were a regular sentencing video, we'd say that he would get the death penalty, no doubt. But hell is a place for darkly fitting punishments. So his sentence is an eternity of acting out all of the horrible scenarios that he forced poor Angel into, and all the profits will go to his many victims. A hellish justice indeed. With that said, we really want to lighten the mood after that. So let's talk about the comic relief cleaner, Nifty.
I like being forced.
Keep that to yourself, Nif.
She's the Hazbin Hotel's housekeeper, always there to make the audience laugh and the people around her shudder in fear from her erratic behavior. Her crime is mainly assault with a deadly weapon, given just how much she loves stabbing things, mostly people.
I like that part.
She's pretty much never out to hurt anyone, unless she's asked to, of course. That in mind, we don't feel like she's really a danger to anyone, though she is owned by Alastor, so who knows what she could potentially get up to. Given her unstable personality, all Nifty needs is a Hell government appointed caregiver. Notice how whenever Angel is around, he's able to rein her in quite a bit, even saving her from signing her soul to Valentino at one point. At other times, he can be seen safely removing a knife from her hands. As long as she's kept in check, Nifty will be a reliable helper until you need her to be something else.
I'm ready to punish some bad boys.
So maybe Angel's true calling was being a babysitter all along. Sticking in the hotel for a bit more, let's move on to Alastor's other enslaved soul, Husk.
The bartender.
And really, despite his past as a gambling addicted overlord, we really can't charge Husk with all too much this season in particular. All of his actions therein are dictated by Alastor, who owns his soul due to his gambling problem. Corruption during his former time as an overlord is really the most we could count against him, and even that's pretty much par for the course.
Not a very convincing interrogation scene.
While we don't have anything in particular to punish Husk for, at least nothing that he's not paying for already, his sentence for today is joining Angel in addictions counseling. That way neither of them will have to go at it alone, and hopefully they won't make the same mistake of giving their souls away again. Busting down the walls to the next entry, without paying for it I might add, is Cherry Bomb. Angel's ride or die and literal partner in crime, Cherry is a self-admitted arsonist who loves all kinds of violence and destruction. Assault with deadly weapons and destruction of property seem to be her personal favorite vices.
So think you're gonna get in a lot of trouble for this?
Violent tendencies aside, Cherry is far from a villain.
Thanks?
She's never really out to hurt anyone who's not already trying to hurt someone else, like Sir Pentious in the pilot, or the Extermination Angels in the season finale. We still shouldn't ignore her explosive personality, pun intended, given all the destruction she loves to cause. So Cherry's sentence is paying for the repair of property she's destroyed, like Cherry's wall and 6 months of probation. Just because everything's on fire already doesn't mean you have to make it worse, Cherry.
Worse or better?
But where would Cherry Bomb be without her lovable former arch nemesis, Sir Pentious?
Oh, harder, Daddy. Son?
In the pilot, Sir Pentious got off to an explosive start in terms of crimes. He mistreated his egg boys, who seemed to be more like slaves than employees, and tried to take over Hell as an overlord with weapons of his own design.
No other demon can compare to the likes of I.
This would earn him a pretty rough punishment if it weren't for the fact that this entire season serves as his redemption arc. Sir Pentious manages to right every wrong he's committed in the course of just 8 episodes.
Special little man.
From apologizing to the hotel for attempting to spy on them, to being willing to give up his weapon building and even his egg boys for the sake of reforming. He's a truly changed man by the end. As for the egg boys, they're happy to return to Pentious and even act more like friends than just servants, due to his newly kind treatment of them. That's not even to mention that Pentious literally made it into heaven after sacrificing himself in the fight against Adam. We have zero objections to that decision, so we're gonna not only pardon Sir Pentious, but we're gonna give him a new job designing weapons that specifically fight the forces of evil. I think I speak for every fan of the series when I say we're all very proud of you, Sir Pentious. Now let's go ahead and round out the hotel staff with the radio demon Alastor. Vox may wish that Alastor had stayed gone, but this chaotic overlord is one of our favorites in the ensemble cast.
Maybe.
That said, as lovable as this sadistic overlord is, we can't deny that he still very much possesses the properties of both sadistic and overlord. Alastor has a penchant for torturing and killing others, particularly overlords.
You'll have to try harder than that next time, old pal.
With the intent to topple their empires and take over the world of Hell. He also broadcasted their screams all across Hell, earning him a charge of snuff filming on top of it all. Oh, and let's not forget some good old-fashioned demon-style slavery. Alastor is a legitimate danger to pretty much everyone around him, given how unpredictable and calculating he is. He has shown some care for Charlie, though, and for helping her build up her hotel. So our sentence for him is renting his soul to Lucifer for 10 years. This way we have a guarantee that Alastor won't try anything funny with Charlie or the hotel.
Radio's not dead, but it is ending this broadcast.
And it should keep him on enough of a leash to not keep murdering the locals and broadcasting their torment. Oh, and also we're gonna have him forgive Husk's debt. Not Nifty's though. It's not that she's worse, it's just that she doesn't seem to mind, and seems like the type who really needs the extra structure. Up on the docket next is Rosie. Rosie is the leader of Cannibal Town. As you might imagine, her main crime is cannibalism. But let's go a bit deeper. In her introduction scene in episode 7, there seems to be an implication that she takes requests for who her colony wants to use as food.
Well, who hasn't thought about eating their first husband? I certainly would have if he didn't taste so bad.
With that, we could probably tack on a charge of organized crime, and definitely a charge of murder. But despite her unsettling line of work and equally unsettling eating habits, if you take everything else out of the equation, she's actually a decently nice, organized person. She leads her people responsibly, helping Charlie to rally them and gain their trust, so they can help her fight the angels that plan on attacking the hotel. So our sentence for Rosie is a new system of processed imitation human/demon/angel food. You know how you see imitation crab meat in stores? Or how every type of meat has a vegan alternative? We're sure there's some chefs in the afterlife that could help her find a solution that isn't, you know, eating people. We've still got 2 of the 3 Vs to sentence, and while we've already sentenced the worst of them, Velvette still has some crimes to pay for herself. In the workplace, Velvette tends to use verbal abuse to get her way with her employees. We'd say that she treats them like dogs, but even most of Hell's citizens seem to know how to treat a pet.
No. Unacceptable. You're fired. What is this?
Her worst crime, however, takes place in her admittedly catchy musical number at the Overlord's meeting. She tries pressuring Carmilla to attack Heaven, which not only constitutes abuse of power, but also an attempt to start war. Now, in her limited defense, Heaven had been performing routine genocides for a while, so her instigation wasn't totally unreasonable. But at the end of the day, Velvette seems more like the type to shoot first and ask questions later, so to speak. So we sentence Velvette to a removal of authority, meaning no more Overlord status for you and the Vs. And we'll also be taking away her social media until she can use it for something other than cyberbullying and borderline brainwashing. Speaking of brainwashing, next is the last of the Vs and the last Overlord for today, Vox. Best known for his never-ending feud with Alastor, this TV demon uses his technological and business savviness to keep the citizens of Pentagram City squarely under his control. His most notorious crimes are consistent of the dynamic duo of mass brainwashing and psychological manipulation. We can also tack on some classic murder charges, since he offered to bring the lowest earners in for Valentino to shoot and let off some stress. Oh, and of course, that also constitutes an abuse of power. Last but not least, we're not forgetting about him giving Sir Pentious some advice in line with low-tier God's iconic philosophical speech. Since we've already taken the other Vs down from their pedestals, it's only reasonable that we sentence Vox to a total revoking of his Overlord status and redistribution of his various influences, since he's pretty much blatantly brainwashing people.
Trust us with your safety.
Maybe give him some kind of signal blocker so he can't cause mass brainwashing or blackouts at will. We've nearly reached the end of our long list of criminals for the day, and for the final 3, we're going to the other side of the afterlife. Starting things off with Sera, who works alongside Emily as a Seraphim Angel. That said, she is much less open to the idea of demons redeeming themselves, to the point where she approved of Adam and Lute's extermination plan. Putting this fully into context, what we have here is a high-ranking angel approving 2 other high-ranking angels, performing a series of genocides. Sanctioning war crimes is enough already, but she also lied to her people about it, which we're gonna say constitutes some kind of treason.
It is my position as the head Seraphim to protect our people at all costs.
Given her position, it's unlikely Sera will be facing consequences for her actions. But as for us, we sentence Sera to being placed under Emily's authority. It's clear that she's the more compassionate and honest of the 2, and while Sera will be great in a position of giving advice, it's clear that her time in Heaven has somehow corroded her morals. But she's still pretty darn tame compared to our final 2 characters. So let's sentence the season's main villains, Adam and Lute. These two are something else. They completely abuse their power by using the overpopulation in Hell as the perfect reason to start a systemic series of exterminations, aka these 2 are both proponents of genocide. Tack onto that mass murder, terrorism, and war crimes, and you've got enough of a rap sheet to conclude that these 2 should not be in Heaven.
Are we clear?
Yeah, got it.
So with that said, this is actually our easiest sentence yet. Adam and Lute will be sentenced to be relocated to Hell. And not just anywhere in Hell. You've earned an all-expense-paid trip to the Hazbin Hotel. They're not just going to be punished. No. They're going to have a redemption arc from the very people they wanted to destroy. But cheer up, guys. It worked for Sir Pentious, right?